Welcome to Soul Thrive, where we explore spirituality through healing trauma, shadow work, and applying the laws of the universe in order to master ourselves without the fear of the unknown. Hey guys, welcome to another episode on the Soul Thrive podcast. Today we're going to be discussing something very interesting. I mean, it's all over the media, it's all over the news, and we're going to be talking about P. Diddy. We're going to talk a lot about his experience and what's being said and what's energetically going on. And
But I want to know,
uh-huh,
because I know you can read people. I
uh-huh,
want to know how the hell he became the, who he is today,
right.
childhood trauma,
Mm-hmm.
or what you're picking up about him, like
Mm-hmm.
from a spiritual standpoint,
Yeah.
like what is going on. So I'm like, I know that he doesn't need to be sitting in front of you
No.
for you to pick some stuff up
Yeah.
about like what's going on with him, but like what the hell is like if he was your client,
That's a loaded
across
question.
from you,
If he said, if
what would you say to him? Like what are
I,
you what's the read?
okay, so that
So much. I know.
I
Loaded
know it's like it's a
question.
totally loaded question. I would say from what I'm seeing and have been seeing, not only in his aura, but in a lot of celebrities' auras and a
Uh-huh.
lot of that energy for years is that, there's a dark entity influence. So like their auric fields are very dark and they're being influenced by a lot of entities that prey on very, very traumatized people.
So
So he's traumatized. But he
so
has, I'm not,
so
but
their
I'm going,
trauma, which we'll get into, but then what are these entities that attach themselves to you? I guess the more traumatized you are, the easier for them
it
it is
depends on
to.
the underlining motivation, right?
Okay.
So you have to understand based on his childhood traumas, which we're going to get into in just a
Mm-hmm.
second,
Mm-hmm.
there is this need for him to succeed and have power and fame. And then the question is, how far will you go
Right.
to claim that power and fame?
Because he's relentless about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And so he really went with that momentum. And then, of course, that goes into the conversation where we've often heard people say things like, I sold my soul to the devil.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, well, I don't really know if it's so black and white, but I do think that there are lower entities and lower vibrations that do exist in this physical plane, in our world, in our reality. And I do think that they do have the ability to influence your thoughts, your experiences, but then also too, you're facilitating in that. You're
Right. Because
cooperating with
you're
that.
not healing your trauma. You're just going further into
Right.
satisfying
Which
whatever.
can go into like other spectrums. We could talk about people who have addictions. There's an influence of an entity that's attached to based on
Right.
traumas and so on and so forth.
Hmm.
But then when you have individuals like him, who's like totally, he's a psychopath. He's a complete and utter psychopath.
You would classify him as
I
that.
would, he is a full blown, I mean, which falls into the narcissism, the grandiose, like
Right. Lack of
the lack
empathy.
of
Right.
empathy, all of that and more. And
Risky. Like he's like think about the level of risk. I was like, oh
yeah,
my God, to be able to like continually do that.
but all it takes is the one time to step past that boundary. And if you think that you just try that one time and nobody punishes you for it, and then you do it again and you're waiting and you're assessing and you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, now I went past that boundary and nobody did anything. Nobody spoke up. And
Right.
but this is a common theme when it comes to abuse and victims. And then they wonder why it takes so many years for a victim to come up and express what has happened to them. It's because they were violated and everybody around usually enables. I mean, we want to be
Right.
around all the popular people and the
Yeah.
people who are rich and successful and who have an influence.
Hmm.
People naturally gravitate to materialism far more than they gravitate towards authenticity
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
vulnerability and healing and just honesty and integrity. So, what it comes down to at the end of the day is you've got this person who's emulating power. And
Right.
here is this person who it may be like just naturally a charmer.
Which he was quite
right?
charismatic,
And
right?
so, made people feel special. There's the love bombing,
Right, right.
the promise of something bigger and better, and I can get you to where you want to
But
be.
why? What does he get in return?
Well, he gets power. He gets more of that authority and power and control over other people.
So what the hell happened to him then? It's like when you think about how deep his trauma has to go and the insecurity
This is
and
a
like
mother wound.
no,
I'm going to say it flat out, like when I'm looking at
so
like a
Diddy has
situation.
mommy issues.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, let's talk
Oh,
about that.
and which I don't know much about his mom, right? But I do know that apparently she was like a model and she also did like she worked multiple
Multiple,
jobs.
and she was a single because his father was killed when he was two, like he was
Yeah.
a drug dealer.
Yeah. So obviously going through so many of
Traumatic.
those
Yeah.
traumatic experiences and having a single mom, we don't know what he was exposed to at a very young age. He lost his father at 2 years old,
Right.
right? And so we don't know who was watching him while she was working her multiple jobs. We don't know if he's gone through sexual abuse
I
himself. This
was just gonna
usually is
say,
an
like,
indicator. Like I'm just saying this from like the years of me having done the work that I've done from soul retrieval and like the things that
mhm,
I've seen in people's auric fields and stuff. I can see when there's like that soul loss. And then, here we have this individual who's gone through these extreme experiences. Most likely his mother himself was also a narcissist and embellished more of these parts of him that, she wanted him to succeed in the areas she didn't and like put a lot of that pressure on him to be of power, to provide this experience.
mhm,
You need to take care of me. You're the man now. You need to take care of me, kind of thing, right? So there's a lot of enmeshment going on here, I think, in my
mhm.
in my what I'm reading energetically. But then, how far as he got older, and like I said, the more you push your boundaries and nobody speaks up and nobody puts you in place, and maybe people did, they pulled him aside, maybe they had conversations, whatever, they
Mhm.
saw certain things. But when you're in the industry of being a celebrity and you have money, anyone who has money and power, you're talking about the little person going against this big thing. It's a big thing,
Mhm.
right? And so now I think we're in a very interesting place in the world right now where so much of this truth is coming into light and more people are ready to speak up about their abuse and the situations that they've been through.
Mhm.
But he totally has dark soul energy and dark entities around him.
What does that
And
mean?
it means that there was a manipulative energy that came in that utilized him and knew that they have their own agenda. They have their own agenda. They have their own ways of wanting to siphon energy and drain vitality because in order for them to live in this plane, they need energy. When it's a lower frequency and a lower entity, it feeds off of your auric field.
Okay, can I ask maybe a dumb question?
Mm-hmm.
So if he was so low on
Mm-mm.
the vibrational scale for these entities to be able to basically like attach themselves and like infiltrate him almost,
Yeah.
how was he from such a low vibrational standpoint able to amass so much wealth and success? Isn't that a bit of
Well,
a
that's bit
contradiction?
no, it's not. What it is it's a contract.
In
So
what sense?
so the entity in that person has a contract. I will energetically give you fame, money, all the experiences that you want,
Mm,
and how far will you go? But you have to understand something though. We are being influenced all day, every day, whether we like to understand that or not. Whether that's through media, whether that's through friendship groups, whether that's through the next trend, whatever it is, we're always being influenced in some way, some form. And so whether we register it or not, sometimes even our decisions that we think we're making are very unconscious, but they've already been programmed and influenced within us due to maybe lower entities or thought patterns or
right,
right. And
right.
so this is why when I say do the healing work, because the better you get at doing the healing work and the more that you start to integrate your inner child stuff, soul retrieval, so on and so forth, it gives you a sense of empowerment. So then you're going to use discernment. You're going to say, well, okay, this opportunity for me to step into, fame and money and power, what am I going to have to sacrifice in order for that to happen?
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say that nobody can't organically make money and have and be a really good person and
Right.
provide really, like, I'm not, we're talking about two different experiences, but we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about people like this who came from very, very bad circumstances. And, maybe there was a light to him at some point in time because he was a kid. He had innocence to him, right?
Right.
Who robbed his
So something
innocence? We're
like
like,
someone must
or
have.
was he born this way? We don't necessarily know because I can't devise that to understand that. But from what I'm seeing, fragments of his energy or of what I've seen over the years, I mean, you could see like there's a frailty to him, like he's been sucked dry. Like it's almost like the entities don't have anything left to do with you anymore. It's like you're useless to us now. Now you're gonna have to pay the piper, basically. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where like your energy is no longer a value to us anymore because you're no longer an influence in
Right,
this
because
world
now
anymore.
you've been found out. So,
But I wonder, I mean, I think like we think about even like rock stars and like celebrities, like there's only a small window of time for anyone to be really, really successful.
mhm.
And then what? If you are not taking care of the things that you need to take care of, your health, your family, your friends, you don't have a good support system around you, and no one's holding you accountable. Like the accountability part is massive because you don't want, here's the thing too, you don't want yes people around you all the time.
Right.
You don't want people, and I'm gonna emphasize that you should have people in your life who say no to you. Like that's not a good idea. What are you
And he
doing?
didn't have that.
I don't
Yeah.
know if he did or
Well,
didn't.
doesn't look like he did.
I think that
He coerced people into saying yes.
I think that it was he only wanted people who were yes people around him.
Right.
And he groomed a lot of people too, which makes me think too, like, where did that come from? The grooming aspect of things. So like there must have been something,
Someone must have done something to him.
Mhm.
Well, because I remember watching the R. Kelly documentary, they were saying that R. Kelly was sexually abused when he was younger,
Yeah,
which then
totally.
makes sense
Totally. You
what
could see
he's
that.
like,
You could see that. It's in his
his
org field,
behavior. Yeah, his
100%.
behavior.
But again, it's like the more and more power and money they have, the more they start to create the illusion that they're untouchable. And
Right.
then they're going around being like, you can't touch me. And if you do, I'll do X, Y, and Z to you because I got away with it. I mean, when we talk about even Tupac's death,
Mm-hmm.
right? He was very much involved with that.
Is that because that's what I mean, they're saying a
Well,
whole lot of things
they
right
came out. I don't know the guy who actually came out and said he did it, but he's basically saying like this was all pre-planned and this is what it
now.
is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot that, he got away with
Mm-hmm.
for a very, very long time. And I know that you've got a list of names that actually came out.
Yeah, like
So
50 and Cat Williams and
Cat will,
Cassie and like
yeah.
everyone,
So
right?
they've been for years talking about that.
So why was he in vibrational alignment to being exposed now? Why now?
Because right
After so
now,
many
okay, so
years?
there are many
Like what
factors.
happened?
I think that energetically, actually, I was talking about this earlier today, this morning, about karma needing to balance itself out right now. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of karmic ties and karmic relationships that need to be balanced out right now. And right now, we're in a phase where a lot of truth is going to come to surface, whether we like it or not. So
Yeah.
there's been a lot of people who have kept quiet for many, many years. And they have like really big secrets that they could destroy other people. And I understand that, and that makes sense. And so a lot of truth is going to come into light. And it, I guess, has to because we are asking for a better world and better experiences. And we're asking for people to heal trauma. And more people now, I think, on the planet are working towards healing. And
Mm-hmm.
so, because there's an intention with that, then by laws of attraction, all of the darkness,
Mm-hmm.
all of the dark souls
Needs to be
are
exposed. Yeah.
being
Yeah.
exposed.
And I wonder, so for people who have been victims of him, they've also, by laws of attraction, had to face him. Like they were in alignment
Mhm.
to him and the trauma. Why? Like if you think about even Justin Bieber, for
Listen,
example, like people
well,
that he's
single mom, Justin Bieber's mom,
is she?
she was
I don't
single.
know much of
I'm
his.
pretty
Yeah.
sure she was a single mom. So no father figures.
Mm.
You're looking at people who most likely grew up with their own traumas, with sexual abuse, no father figures in their lives.
So
Um,
there's
it's a
the trend
commonality,
almost.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's like a
Yeah.
theme, right? Here we have Usher too. His mom was a single mom,
Yeah. And see,
right? You
Usher's
can
keeping quiet.
Usher's keep it
But
quiet,
Usher was
but
13 years old when he was associated with Diddy.
so
So,
he was groomed.
and he also discovered Justin Bieber.
Right. The next phase of Where can we continue? The entities want a continuation of all these experiences. Bieber though, he was heading down a really dark path.
Mm-hmm.
He was very much involved in like drugs, and they had drugged him, and like they had done a lot of stuff to him too, but he managed to get away. And so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I don't know what his story and his path is going to be because I haven't read his energy, but from what I understand is like, he was groomed at some point and then he cut ties with those people and he just
Mm-hmm.
like went his other another direction.
Yeah.
So can you salvage yourself? Sure. I mean, like if there's ever a dark entity or dark influence, I'm just going to highlight so you can understand, like, even when we talk about these dark entities or these dark influences, it depends on the person and how the person utilizes them and how much they give power to allowing this influence in their lives,
Can you
right?
sense when something like that is on
For
you?
sure. I mean, I think for me, when I'm around situations where I may be triggered, or there may be like something that happens to me, like that impacts me in some way, and my trauma is being highlighted, it's so easy when you fall into a depressive state to hear that voice in your head.
So is that how they come in?
Sometimes it's an influence that way. Sometimes I feel like, but again, I don't want to get into like too much of the technicalities
Mhm.
because there's so many different perspectives. And I don't want to just say, like, oh, well, now you may have an entity that's influencing you from not taking accountability,
No, right,
right?
right.
And sometimes it's trauma that leads, but I'm just saying that doesn't mean that we don't have energies around us. It could even be in the energy of a friend who has something attached to them, and then they're influencing your outlook on life and
Mm-hmm.
your experiences because you're in a low place.
Right, right.
So it works in so many different ways because everything around us is energy. And
Right.
really it's just a consciousness. That's all it is. And what is it highlighting when we attract those types of entities in our experiences? It really
Yeah.
is highlighting our ability to move through trauma and actually heal and actually look at duality and our shadow emotions so that we can get better at raising our own frequency and awareness towards our traumas. But in his
I was like,
circumstances,
why didn't he do it?
I mean, like, I think that he has so much soul loss due to
Okay.
the amount. Like, I would think that this would be, when I'm looking at, there's just
What is the
so,
mother?
yeah. I mean, just not, I think, like I'm saying, I'm reading that there are probably multiple people who had access to him at such a young age,
Mm,
right? And so when you take a child who's gone through sexual abuse, or there's a soul loss there,
mm-hmm.
and depending on the extreme of the soul loss, like I could see that with like certain addicts, like they
Mm-hmm.
go down a path where addiction and like the abuse, and they were abused by family members, and like most of the time when I've worked with individuals who are in addiction or sexual abuse, it was a very close family member that did it, or
Mm-hmm.
their biological mother or father did that.
So when you say soul loss, just to reiterate, because we talked about that a few episodes ago, it's literally due to trauma, like you've lost
Mhm.
aspects of yourself,
Yes.
which would make sense as to then why, how like he must feel so empty on the inside and then he
I
created
don't
all
think
of
he
that.
feels anything. I think that he has zero remorse. I think that he has no empathy. I think that he is a complete and utter psychopath. And that I think has been developed over time. Could he have even come in here with the intention of having that be his contrast and his experience?
Mm-hmm.
But his impact on the amounts of people that he impacted was insane.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are going to be able to hopefully heal through this
But
and
this is going to
awaken parts of
create,
them.
but this is at the
So he
same
was a
time,
catalyst,
it's like,
right?
exactly.
Right.
I hate to say it like that,
Yeah.
but it also creates a catalyst for healing,
Yeah.
and it creates awareness, and it creates the opportunity for people to speak up about abuse,
Mm-hmm.
and really do the trauma
And
work.
like normalize that if you're a victim, like it's so like
But not
don't
only that, like, how does
like
no one speak
like the
up?
shame
Like,
and
even
all
if you
that.
see it,
Yeah.
like, and I've seen situations, or I've been situations when I was younger and I saw things and I would freeze. Like, I'd
Right.
freeze. I'd be like, I
Right.
don't know what to do with this. I don't know. And like, when then you don't have a positive influence or influences in your life where you can go to or lean on or feel like you've got like a solid group of people that would believe you. I mean,
Mhm.
here we have situations where I've had clients that have gone through sexual abuse and literally their mother will be like, well,
Yeah,
it's
invalidate
not
all
really
the
like that. And you
yeah.
know what? He really didn't mean that. Or it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like,
No, you're right. This is an opportunity for people to get their trauma and their experiences validated, and also to normalize talking about shame, because there must be so much shame that's coming up for everyone,
I think they're going to kill
given
him.
given what
I think they're going to kill him.
you don't do you think he'll kill himself?
Oh, I think they're going to kill him.
But would someone like him want to kill himself, do you think?
No,
But how is he gonna live?
I think he thinks like he's gonna get out of this.
Are you
I
serious?
think
That's
that
what
he's
he
got
thinks?
this like delusion that like, oh, you think I'm gonna go down? Just wait and see once I expose all you guys. And now my thought processes or my intuition is also kicking in and saying to myself, like, was it any different than Jeffrey Epstein? Like
Right.
he had
Right.
so many names that he could
Yeah.
have exposed and so
Right.
many things that was it a suicide?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
here we are in this, and like he's on suicide watch,
Right.
right?
Right.
Who's to say that someone isn't going to pay him off to shut him up, but do what they need to do? Like, there's so much more that still plays
It's gotta
itself
come out,
out.
right? And then
Yeah.
so many other names that are associated, and all of that's coming out.
And
So
those names, I think, will come out. I do think that
yeah,
they will come out. Do I think like the whole full list of people? I'm not too sure. But right now, I know that more and more people are filing. I don't know, I think they said that there was like six already court or seven.
I
I
I
don't know.
I haven't been able to keep up. But ultimately, what you're saying right now is the time for all of this to come out, because we want healing, and we want authenticity, and we want a better world.
We do want a better world. And I don't think that we should allow people like that much power.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Like,
Like, why are we giving these people so much power?
yeah,
And then, like, it's sad to
he's
see.
almost like he feels like he's larger than God, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, but I mean, like when you think about a psychopath or a narcissist, do you think that
right,
they're going to think anything differently? They
that's what
think
they
that they're untouchable. They legitimately think
yeah.
like they're one up you and like they know and that you can't touch them.
I'm curious whether this is also happening energetically to help us kind of like, because I feel like we've grown up with this idea of like image
Mm-hmm.
and what success looks like, and
Mm-hmm.
thinking that celebrities are like this whole celebrity culture. You put them on a pedestal and they're great and they're perfect, and I want to be like them. That's how we've grown up. And now it's like, no, actually, all that glitters isn't gold.
100%.
So it's
Oh
like kind
yeah.
of like the unraveling of even like
I mean, I asked myself the
the
question too.
image.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
image part too, but I asked myself too, like when I think about certain people that really would rather put themselves in a position when they're already so vulnerable and
Hmm.
have only yes people around them and they're being used and manipulated, you could see an emptiness in their eyes.
Totally.
You
Yeah.
could see a hollowness in them.
Mhm.
Like, look at Madonna.
Oh my God, that's another episode.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot. Look at Britney Spears. Look what they did with
Yeah,
Britney
I know. That's
Spears.
the saddest part.
Like, it's a lot. It's a lot to think of. I mean, I personally have seen more recently some people even in my life that aren't in my life anymore that you know, are hollow and empty and they just think that they're,
Thriving.
thriving.
And
And
it's
it's
like, oh,
like,
look at me, look at what I'm doing.
right. And
Like the whole like
and
they want to be celebrities themselves.
right. And then there's just like, yes, people around them and
Yeah.
no one is saying anything truthful. I need to know if I'm doing something wrong to someone. I need to know if I'm hurting someone. I need to know you have to have empathy. That's not to say that you're not allowed to go into the direction of success. And it's
Mhm.
not to say that you don't have the right to be a celebrity and to do great things and to have the money but be
I mean,
mindful
that
of
puts
what,
you in a place where you can.
yeah,
Right.
but you have to be mindful that with that comes a lot of responsibility and
Right.
power. And
Right.
what are you going to do with that when you
Yeah.
have that? What is that going to look like?
Mhm.
Like I think to myself too, like, the work that I'm doing, I'm putting out more stuff. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not like it is what it is, right? But you're exposing yourself to a degree. You're
Mhm.
putting yourself out
Yeah,
there.
putting yourself out there
But
for
I
sure.
but I always want to say to myself, like, if I'm doing this, what's the underlining factor and motivator here?
Hmm.
So think about it from your own point of view, your own perspective, in your own life. Like, and this is just as simple as even like in a marriage, like
Hmm.
who has or who acts like they have more power and authority in the dynamics that you're in. You
Hmm.
know, children, like you gotta pay attention to this being a ripple effect in so many different ways. So we're just again talking about it from like that spiritual, emotional trauma experience. But yeah, so just to sum things up, like he lost his dad at 2, his mom raised him.
Soul
He
loss at young
soul
age.
lost at a
He
young
probably
age
has seen a lot of traumatic situations growing up where he
and
did, and
put
yeah,
people through so many. The some of the stories that I read,
yeah.
oh, I was disgusted. I was
Hmm.
utterly disgusted with what he got away with.
Yeah, but it's so funny, like just to end on like what's interesting when you say mother wound, because she was a single mother
Hmm.
and because she kind of like worked like 5 different jobs to raise him, and if she did put that pressure on him to beat a man, it's almost like she put this pressure for him to almost like validate his existence.
Hmm. Well, she probably bigged him up too. You know what I mean? Like it was, oh,
Yeah,
he could do no harm, he could do no wrong. But I wonder too if she was also abusing him.
yeah. So is he basically just chasing her love?
I think
I
it's
know that's
more
very
than that.
simple, like it's
I mean, if you want to simplify it, sure, but I don't think it was just about that. I think that it was about his ability to find a false sense of self through power.
mhm.
And then it comes back down to if I could just, if they're pushing the bounds with me and nobody is giving them consequences for what they're doing to me,
When he was younger,
right?
right?
And nobody spoke up and everybody
So
knew.
I'm gonna do the same thing.
So what could I get away with now
Right, right.
to punish those who weren't necessarily kind or nice to me at that age or at that time, which
Hmm.
is like psychologically, like
Yeah.
I almost feel like he operates like a child's mind,
Hmm.
right? Because like
Hmm.
when you have soul loss and trauma and all of that, you're not
You're not thinking.
you're not
Yeah.
operating like an adult would. You're
Like
operating
adults,
like a
yeah,
like this wounded child that's just leading in destruction.
yeah, yeah,
And I mean, we're not looking at it from the psychological standpoint because if we had a psychologist here and they were talking about this from that point of view, I mean, they would discuss it in a completely different
yeah.
light. I'm talking about it from the spiritual
Just
point of
the
view, from
trauma and
like,
shadow work. Yeah,
yeah, all of
yeah.
that. So,
Oh well, let's see what happens.
all right. Well,
Mhm.
good discussion today, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Bye.